break, I would do a single game stream. We've got Summit Drive by Luke Kim. You might remember me playing this before. And it's just come out properly, and Luke has sent me a key. I covered the game previously on the channel. I thought doing a sort of single game stream would be a nice way to get back into the swing of things. So we're just going to be playing this morning. And then tomorrow, I do have scheduled a return to Indies Under the Knife. I think I'm just going to start referring to them as surgery streams or something in future, because Indies Under the Knife is a bit of a mouthful. But tomorrow we are going to be doing a tower defense marathon. So I've got, I think, 6 tower defense games that have been sent in over the last few months. And tomorrow I'll be doing those. It's the stream I would normally do on a Thursday, but I'm doing it on Tuesday this week just to get back in the swing of things. But yeah, this morning we're going to check out Summit Drive. Really nice to occasionally come back to a game that we played earlier. I don't do that very often, but if I've looked at a game when it's mid-development and then the developer finishes it and sends me a key, then I'm happy to play it again when it's in its finished state. Well, you know, generally don't play a game loads of times throughout development unless it's one of our Patreon members who supports the channels. Hey, Tim. Yeah, the thing I like about this game is it's like, this is like a rage game, right? You can tell from the words here, a difficult game about driving up a mountain using only your mouse. But it's kind of a very aesthetically pleasing rage game. Whereas a lot of rage games have sort of gone in for that sort of collagey, messy look. Which I get. I get the appeal of that, sort of the Bennett Foddy and the only up type, throwing some assets in a game engine type look. But this just appeals to me on a different level. Hi, Dave. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this the first time I played it. It looks like they've added like a whole other drive, which is great. The thing is, you can always, if it's not like super resource intensive to make new content for your game, do we start out backwards, or is that the road? If it's not sort of super resource intensive to add content to your game, you can always add stuff like after launch as well, to like bring old players back to the game and then get new people into it. I went the wrong way. I think I'm fully stuck already. Ah, okay, you have to pull that back to change gear. Am I fully stuck in this tree? So I might have to restart already. I went the wrong way and crashed into a tree. Oh, okay. Oh wait, there's 2 gears. I don't understand this car at all. It's not from the devs of EnviroBear, no, it is very much inspired by it though. I think the dev pretty much just wanted to play another EnviroBear game, which I think is one of the best reasons for making a game. Because it means that you already know you understand the design space of that type of game, because you're just, you know, when you're making a sort of homage with your own spin on something, it sort of means you have a good understanding of what was good about the original thing. So when I left click, I can steer the thing. You just use your mouse, and then when I right click, it seems to, yeah, right click does the brake. And also if I right click and press backwards and forwards, it also does the gears. Which is confusing, but that's kind of part of the charm. You know, I often complain about games with weird controls, but when I do, I usually make the point that it's okay if that's the whole point of the game. What, we're going the wrong way again? The second gear is really a trap. You go so fast in the second gear that you can't control it. But yeah, when you've got a game like this where the whole point of the game is to master a deliberately clunky control system or whatever, that's great. I just don't think you should do that and also make, you know, a first-person shooter or something. I think if your game is trying to do too much and then also requiring people to learn a totally new control system that doesn't exist in any game, then you're going to have problems. I just can't seem to get up here. Does the dev drive? Because that's not how gears work. But a higher gear doesn't help you get up a... Going into a higher gear doesn't help you get up a hill. You need to go into a lower gear to get up a hill. But this is a bird car, so... How do I reverse? Why can I not reverse from here now? Why can I not get into... I'll turn the pixelation off and see what it looks like. Oh my goodness, it's not pixelated anymore. See, before I had to... Ah, it's forwards, okay. Such a weird car. Yeah, because reverse is forward on the stick, which is unintuitive. Ah! Ah! Hold up. Hold up. This bridge. My nemesis. That frickin' bridge. Quite like having the pixelation turned off. I find it a little bit easier to see where I'm going. He says as he crashes into a wall. I keep forgetting that you need to go into a higher gear to get uphill, because that's not how cars work. So in the game engine, it seems like 2 is just faster. 1 is slow and 2 is fast. And, I mean, that's not even how gears work on a bike. I mean, it is faster, yeah, but it's also... Oh, handbrake. Oh no, that's wipers. Thought it was a handbrake then. Oh... Yeah, the jazz is from the game. Oh, we've gone down 2 levels. Oh, what a way to end the year. Okay, at least I can see which way I need to go. I've started facing exactly the right way to get back up. This is a good exercise in stoicism, this game. You don't need an X account with like loads of Marcus Aurelius quotes on it or whatever. You just need to play this game. What's up there? Right, so that's back to the bridge. I've got past the falling off things. Doesn't bother me, but now I'm just completely lost. Right, so we came across the bridge and we went this way. Around here. Through the little Stonehenge thing. Ah. I'm very pleased that the only time I've ever been on roads like this in real life, I wasn't the one driving. Lots of places around the Mediterranean, there's little mountain roads that are like that. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not allowed to drive up mountains. Banned. We're going down now, that's novel. Ah! Where did we end up? No, 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 no. You just have to accept that sometimes you need to just drive all the way back down to the bottom like that. Am I going the wrong way again? I think I'm going the wrong way. Right back to the start, I think. The new meta is strafe driving. I kind of want to find if there are any places where you can just cheat a little bit and drive up something, but I feel we will be punished by gravity. Yes. Okay. Back to where we were. I just think the road safety in these parts is not what it could be. I have my concerns. Look, I get it. We're all birds here. We're not really evolved to be civil engineers. Is there a road there? Is that a road? Let us look. 'Tis not a road. Oh. Some sort of funky Tropicalia. You can't play it with the gamepad, no. It's kind of the whole point of the game. The point of the game is to have a awkward control system that is hard to use. It's not a design thing I would recommend in any other sort of game, but the point of this game is to be funny. It's for the failure to be funny, so I think that's the kind of situation where it's okay for it to be set to a particular control scheme. Here we go in. It does get decidedly less funny when I get better at the game, but hey. It's these little moments where you need to switch to second to get up a hill. Oh, where has that ended up? Where has that taken us? Oh, the gears are really, really horrible. I can never tell where I am or where I'm supposed to go after I fall down. It's all part of the fun. Oh yeah, now I recognise this bit. These games are really sort of automatically balancing in a very funny way, because the more times you fall down, the more tired you are, and the less you can concentrate on getting back up. I'm very bad at games where you have to concentrate on doing the same thing for a long period of time. Oh. I'll just sit here for a little while. I think I'm done. I'm just gonna sit there with my bird friend. I want to see the other track. This is one of the reasons why I often avoid playing rage games on stream, is my tolerance for this kind of stuff is very low. And I think it's because, like, I love this. I think this is great. But my personal tolerance is, if I was just to play this for fun, which is what I'm trying to do now, once I hit that point, I would just be like, yeah, no, not for me. It's very different from, like, trying to do something very difficult in a, I don't know, like an RPG where you're trying to beat a boss and you fail 10 times, but you sort of know why you're doing it and what's beyond. And often you can go off and do different stuff and come back to it as well. Whereas a game, these kind of rage games where you're just failing, there's no alternative, right, to just retrying the thing that you failed at. There's no different route you can take. I guess there's a different, you can try and take a different approach, but the way this works is so slippery that it's hard for you to really learn from your mistakes in an actionable way as well. But that does all add to the funniness of it. And I do hope this gets picked up by, you know, the type of streamers that usually play these games and are going to be good at reacting to them, because I'm just far too flat. Oh no, I fell down. Oh no, perchance I shall try again. Oh no. Behold, down again I did fall. Oh. I think it would actually be quite hard to procedurally generate levels for this, because you need the player to always fall down to a place where they can continue from, and the levels are very well designed for that so far. You know, when you fall down, if you only fall down one layer, you're quite lucky. But most of the time you roll and you fall down like 3 layers at once, which is really frustrating. But I mean, it's not avoidable, but it feels like when you fall off a cliff and you're like 3 stages up, it starts to feel like a bit of a dice roll of, are you going to fall down 1 or are you going to fall down 3? I think that would be quite hard to... I guess if you were going to try and proceduralize this, you would need to sort of make it always build a spiral of some sort. So you'd have to give it quite strict parameters that fit the gameplay that's already in this version, you know, to get procedural levels for this. I'm just a driving boat. This is very grey. It's very grey around here. Oh, there we go. Excuse me. Excuse me. That's the wrong direction. No, stop it. When the car's rolling the wrong way, it's really, really difficult to get it going the right way again. I think if I am going to have to drive my real car later today, and I'm worried that this game is going to have trained me to drive a car wrong. So I think there should be a disclaimer in this game that says, warning, cars do not actually work like this. Do not drive a real car immediately after playing Summit Drive. Because I'm having to keep remembering that second takes us up hills. Ah! Oh, bird. What are you like? Mate, always here. What's wrong with you? Ah! I do usually use the mouse to drive my car, actually. That's not the bit I'm finding difficult. I am experiencing skill deterioration over time. Right. Mate, no! The bird is not even that much of a mechanical problem in terms of how much it blocks your way, but I think there's something about the you know it was done on purpose. And it sort of makes you feel flustered because it's like, why are you getting me with this bird right now? I don't need this. I don't need this added bird problem in my life. This is how I drive up hills. Like this. just trying to jank it. Right, I think what I need to do is get to the crest here and then go back down to first. But first, I lose all traction and start rolling backwards. Oh! Oh, that corner! Oh. This game is making me reflect a lot on emotions, and I think I lack the rage part of rage games. I can't see myself getting to the point where I rage out at the game and fun to watch, because I'll just hit stop playing the game before that point. Maybe we need like a subgenre that's just like mildly annoying games. Your current position will be saved. That's funny. I'll go back to the first one again for a little bit. So the controls only use the mouse, and you use the left. You have to put the cursor over the steering wheel and hold the left mouse button to steer, and then you have to drag and do right click and drag to go through the gears. And I don't know if this is like an American car automatic thing, but the way the gears are arranged is really confusing, because second is faster, which you would expect, but second also helps you go up hills. So it doesn't have the thing that real gears have, where you need to be in a lower gear to get to push you up a hill and a higher gear when you're on an open bit of road. So I keep I get into a situation like this where I can't push up the hill, and then I forget that second is what you need to do. Because it's not a logical car. Right, we've gone back to the first map, which presumably is a little bit easier. Especially if I drive up walls like that. I do think I lack the capacity to rage out a game, rage out at a game as opposed to just quitting it. Therapy makes you boring. You heard it here, folks. I was watching Tim Kaine put out a video a couple of days ago about comments on his channel, and there were a lot of things that were very resonant with me for like the type of comments I get. And it's interesting because the audience for the streaming is totally different from the audience for the videos. Because you guys, like, I recognize all your names. This is a community thing. You know, people that join streams are generally there to have a little hangout. Like, you're all kind of checking in with each other right now and sort of asking each other how you are and stuff. You're sort of fundamentally sociable types who are here to hang out. But the YouTube comment section is much more like they're there to have an argument with someone. And anyone who's like a self-appointed expert on something, regardless of like their level of expertise or whatever, there's a type of person that is just there to argue with them. And even Tim Kaine gets it. Even Tim Kaine gets people who are just there to argue with him rather than learn from him, even though he's been making video games for like, I don't know, like 30 years or more. And it's interesting because I think when you're the sort of person that bothers to sit down and make things, you probably don't have that sort of personality. So it's very hard to empathize with those sorts of people. Because, like, as someone who, like, I watch stuff, and if I disagree with it, unless the person is, like, being a Nazi, generally I won't sort of stick around to argue with that person to just sort of prove how smart I am. I'll just, like, go and watch something else. So it's very hard to empathize with those sorts of people. And I feel like my disconnect with rage games is a very similar thing, because if I'm finding an experience very frustrating and not rewarding enough for how frustrating it is, then I'll just stop doing it. And I think there are types of people that enjoy drama or enjoy arguing and stuff like that. I've definitely been around people like that in my life, and I've had to cut them out because it's just like I'm not conflict averse. I'm not against having a argument when something needs sorting out or whatever. But there are people that really, really enjoy turning everything into a conflict. And I think if you're like a reasonably well-adjusted person, you start to use that as a thermometer, or like a barometer for if a situation or thing is something you want to spend time with, rather than sort of deliberately exposing yourself to the thing that pisses you off, you know? So if you find like a thing repeatedly pisses you off, then you just steer clear of it. Whereas like a more emotionally immature person would go, oh yeah, I love being pissed off. That lets me rant and rave. I love ranting and raving. One of the things that's mildly stressful about this line of work is you sort of have to be exposed to the annoying people. And one of the things I wish that YouTube had was the ability to respond to someone and then block them, because you can sort of mute people on your channel very easily. And one of the things I usually do is if someone leaves a rude comment, I click on their avatar and it shows me what else they've posted on the channel. And if it's their first comment and they've been rude, then I mute them and block them. If it's like their second or third comment and all their comments so far have been rude or abrasive, I do the same thing. But the problem with that, and I guess this isn't my responsibility and it's not creators' responsibilities generally, but the problem with that thing is people never learn then, because you're not actually telling them they're being rude. So there's no in-between option where you sort of... I think what I would like social media platforms to have is you can mute and block someone's account, and you can also post a little thing of why you did it, right? We don't have that on YouTube. It's just like you just make someone invisible on the channel and I don't think they even know. They carry on posting and it just doesn't show up. And that doesn't help people understand when their behavior is antisocial. But yeah, I will play this game until I think at the point where I fall down and I go down 5 levels, that's probably the stage where I'll be close as I'll get to quote unquote rage, and then I'll just quit the game. Because my tolerance for things that are deliberately trying to piss me off is very, very low. Maybe it's good for you. Maybe there's something sort of cathartic. It's kind of like horror, right? There's this theory around horror called terror management theory that is like horror is psychologically good for you because it sort of primes you for being able to deal with stress in normal situations, to be scared recreationally, you know? And so maybe there's a similar thing with rage games. They're like... It's like an inoculation against stress by doing something stressful that you don't really need to do, right? It's kind of like the Wim Hof thing of having really cold showers because it primes your body to be able to deal with stress. I don't know. I sort of feel like it's... as I play this, it's kind of like I'm trying to get more and more detached from the goal. I just try not to care about getting up the mountain at all, and just trying to enjoy driving the car. Just seeing what people are saying in the chat. Trolling is a thing. They may just be doing it for some kind of lulz. I mean, I'm a bit of a troll. But I tend to find... And I don't know, people who are good at trolling... I think... I think trolling where you're just pretending to be a dumb person saying something that's indistinguishable from something like an ignorant person would say is not very good trolling, you know? So I've done trollish things in my life, but I would like to think they were, you know, witty forms of trolling rather than rather than just like puerile pretending to be a stupid person type trolling, which is like, well, there's already like 100 of the person that you're pretending to be in this situation, so you're not really contributing anything by pretending to just be another one of those, you know, because they already exist in abundance. You know, trolling should be clever. It should be creating a situation that wasn't already happening. If your trolling is there's 90 people saying this dumbass thing, and I'm gonna just say the dumbass thing even though I don't believe it, so I'm gonna change that 99 people to 100 people. That's not funny. It's not clever. It's just... Oh. It's very zen game. I'm not raging at all. Raging a little bit. I am quite annoyed this morning because... So, I'll tell you because it's a car-related story. And we're doing a just sort of general gaming stream rather than feedback on the game, so I can be a bit more self-indulgent here. So, I don't like that track. That's too lively. Just get back on the path. Get back on the Dharma. As they say, not the Jeffrey Dahmer. Not the Buddhist Dharma. Right, we need to get back up there. I think that's the way we need to go. So, the next community stream is probably going to be in January. I will try and do some scheduling later today so that you can see when the next streams are coming. So... once we're into January proper, we'll be back on a normal streaming schedule. I'm very tempted to schedule the whole month, and the people that get annoyed by it can just sod off, because I don't care. Before, I scheduled a whole month of streams once, and I put them all up. And then some people were like, oh, you're showing up too much on my homepage. So, well, I don't care. Why, just scroll through it. Like, that is such a minor UX problem that is more to do with how YouTube works than anything stupid I've done my end. Like, I don't know. If a TV channel has a schedule a month ahead of time, why the hell can't I have one? And then the thing is, Twitch expects you to have a schedule like every week of doing the same stuff. Whereas on YouTube, people are like, oh, you put something up more than a week in advance? Like, yeah. Yeah, I'm autistic. Deal with it. I've got a calendar. You heard of a calendar before? The thing is, if I don't publicly commit to doing things and saying, this happens every Wednesday, this happens every Thursday, I won't do it. Because I'll have like one bad morning where I wake up and don't want to talk to people or touch a computer, and I'll just decide not to do it there and then. So I need to like publicly commit to things. So yeah, anyway, proper streaming schedule will be up in the next couple of days for January. There will be the weekly Indies Under the Knife, which I'm going to rebrand as something simpler like Game Surgery or something, and then we'll do the community streams at least every other week. We get to a point where the Discord community is bigger and the Patreon community is bigger. I'll probably end up doing the community streams every week. Because ultimately, those are the folks that allow this channel to exist in the first place. Sick. Sick grind. Oh yeah, so the car story. The annoying car story. So, my son has ADHD and autism because of genetics, because that's how genetics work. And he's in year 10 now, which for Americans would be 9th grade or 11th grade, I can't remember. He's got like a year and a half left of high school. And he got offered a place at a specialist school that's mostly boys, I think, and it's just like a specialist school for kids with ADHD and autism where they're taught, you know, in ways that are better for them. So he's been going there for 4.5 years, and I just had to move because our landlady sold our house. And the local council, they provide a taxi to his school because it's about 45 minutes away drive-wise. And they've now decided, because my house is too far away from his mum's house, they won't do the taxi from both addresses. Right? Because in their mind, the kid only has one address. Which is wild when you think about it. Because, like, we have 50-50 custody. I have the kids from Friday to Friday. They go to their mums from Friday to Friday. And in a lot of situations, that's what's considered better for the kids. You know, there's lots of campaigns to give kids more access to their dads. And, you know, in all of the situations where the dad isn't, like, violent or abusive or, you know, an addict or whatever, that's generally better if they have 50-50. That's a widely accepted thing in society. And the council that provision this thing have just decided, well, no, it's just a bit logistically complicated to have to go to 2 places instead of 1. Bearing in mind, they're not even... The taxis aren't even theirs, right? So they subcontract the taxi out to a local taxi firm. So I've been in contact with the taxi firm, and they're totally fine with it. They don't mind. Their driver doesn't mind. He's agreed. You know, bearing in mind this house is only like 5 miles away from our old house. They don't mind. So then the council is trolling us, the county council, and saying, well, we have this policy because taxi companies don't want to do this, blah, 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 and it might cost more, and the taxi company don't care. I've already, like, got it from them verbally that they don't care. But the council keeps saying that basically they will only send a taxi to 1 house. And I said to them, this is just me venting at this point, but I think it's a funny accompaniment to me driving a car badly, so I'll continue. I said to them, you know, the logical conclusion of your policy on there being 1 home is that the child should live wherever it is convenient for the council, right? Which, that's not going to stand up to scrutiny from a human rights lawyer about what's best for children. It's not going to stand up to scrutiny in the sort of court of public opinion about childcare and stuff like that. So, unless you're going to propose an alternative, you can't just say, no, the child only lives at the primary address that's on our file. And when I brought this up with them, first time as well, they said, they said, oh, well, we can't, it's not our obligation to work with any sort of court orders about where the child lives. And there isn't a court order. We had a reasonably amicable breakup and we decided to have 50-50 custody. There's no court order. It's not about a court order between the parents. It's about the duty of care of the council to provide what they promised to provide. The thing is, when we got the school place, we were told there would be a taxi. We weren't told, oh, actually, maybe you shouldn't accept this school place because the taxi only goes from 1 place. So all of this is to say that the reason why I probably lack the capability to rage out at a game about a bird driving up a mountain is that reality is already too stupid and too full of stupid people. And if anything, repeatedly falling down a mountain is quite relaxing and cathartic in comparison. Yeah, the classic council bullshittery. I basically, the last message I sent them, I accused them of lying. And I've learnt the magic word now, because I had to use this during moving as well. Ombudsman. If you're in the UK, and you get to an impasse in a conversation with some sort of company that has any sort of regulatory body, look up what the ombudsman is for that thing. So it could be the property ombudsman, it could be the health and social care ombudsman. As soon as you even indicate that you know what an ombudsman is in that situation, they will start to take you more seriously, because suddenly you have the power of middle class magic, that you might be the sort of person that has a lawyer or can write a letter. So you just start throwing the word ombudsman around, and you might get somewhere. Yeah. The ombudsman. We don't know who he is. We don't know who this ombudsman is, but he's magical. Like some sort of wizard. I invoke the power of the ombudsman. And the thing is, the boogeyman, yeah. No one knows what an ombudsman is. No. That's why they're so scared. That's why they're so scared. They're like, what? What's that? I think an ombudsman just landed on the front of my car. Oh! Goddamn ombudsman. The ombudsman. Yeah, so the way that the taxi provision works is that because it's a specialist school that is there to cover the special educational needs thing within the county, right? So however many places of kids need special educational needs, which would be better served in a specialist school than in their local school, they've sort of agreed that they will have a way of those kids getting to school, right? And it doesn't make sense to do a bus because we're talking about people coming from 50 miles in all directions to the same place. So they subcontract out to a small cab firm. And yeah, in this case, the cab firm has already agreed that it's fine, and they're fine with it, and their driver's fine with it. But the official folks that fund that are saying, no, we can't do that because the company might not be fine with it. They've already told me they're fine with it, mate. Because I asked them nicely. And I know that might be an alien concept to you because you work at the local council and you're a troglodyte. But there is such a thing as just being nice and asking nicely for things and going out of your way a little bit to help people because basically you already said you would. But you know, this is why these people, like, who aspires to work in local government, right? Who aspires to be like a low-level civil servant in their life? No one does. So once they're there, they're like, you know what? I don't have much power in this world, but I'm going to use the power that I do have to fuck up some kid's life. I'm making it sound like it's malicious. It's not malicious. I mean, that's the fundamentally disturbing thing about the world. Is there's a name for this bias, isn't it? It's like when someone cuts you up when they're driving, we attribute things to malice. I mean, the adage is don't attribute to malice what could be attributed to stupidity, right? But we perceive lots of things as being sort of personal slights or someone doing something because they're mean, when actually it's usually just laziness. Usually laziness or just lack of care. Which, I mean, is its own form of, you know, is its own form of evil in its own way. When I used to work in a school, we had to do, like, child protection training. And one of the things that they would say there is that, like, neglect is the most common form of abuse, right? Which is statistically true, right? The most common form of a parent harming their child is through inaction and not doing things that they're supposed to do, which is fundamentally what neglect is. And when you've got these kind of things like duty of care cases with health and social care as well, that's the same thing. You know, you look at any situation where like an elderly person or a disabled person or whatever is not being looked after properly. It's not because there's it's like a evil person going somewhere. Although in some ways I think it's cathartic to think that way, which is why I was just expressing that about people that work in local government, right? It's kind of cathartic to imagine that this person is evil rather than just like a a boring, lazy person that doesn't want to do a little bit more work. That's why I think that's fundamentally why people believe in like big, grand conspiracy theories about evil satanic wizards, because they don't want to admit that capitalists are mostly just greedy, lazy people. You don't need you don't need the Illuminati to exist, or the Freemasons or whatever, to be a lazy, greedy person. That's just, to some degree, human nature when not brought into a culture of like communitarianism and people looking after each other, you know? I mean, Paul, you say that, but I think door handles are evil. Jitty knows the secret of who the ombudsman is. Thank you for the tip, Not a Clue Games. I don't have my little tip counter on the screen. I set one up. I don't know how to work it. There's like... There it is. There it is! You've been added to the little score thing up the top. Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I'm far too greedy with the chocolates. I've not had a good week dietarily speaking. Is that a word, dietarily? I cooked way too much meat on Christmas. So yesterday I made most of the beef that was left over into a curry, because I was like, what can I make this beef into that is like the opposite of Christmas food, because I'm so sick of Christmas food. So I cut into like really thin slices. You know, like when you get beef in a Chinese takeaway and it's in like very bite-sized slice pieces. And I made a... What's the Malaysian one? A rendang? I made like a rendang with it. A Christmas rendang. The jazz is part of the game, yeah. Maybe the jazz is the thing that's stopping me rage out of the game. Paul, I think that counts as sexual harassment. Paul in the chat said he went to work and the nurse he was working with poked him in the belly and said, "It looks like you're carrying a baby." That's definitely sexual harassment. She's fantasizing about Mpreg Paul Ward. Can you imagine going to the HR department, wherever it is you work, it's at the hospital, and telling them, using the word Mpreg in your complaint? Excuse me, can you explain what Mpreg means? I shouldn't have to. Here's a Wikipedia page. I come here to work with dignity. I don't expect people I work with to fantasize about Mpreg Paul. I know she didn't mean any offense. I was just sort of creating a Tim Robinson sketch in my head where you take as much offense as possible. Because it would be funny. There's definitely... So, I hate to report this, but there's definitely parts of this game where you have to pay attention. Yeah, I think my son probably would have done okay in a mainstream school. He gets on reasonably well with other kids, and that's the I went to a school that didn't have any provision, and then I didn't get diagnosed with anything until I was in my late 20s. And I think I had I didn't have any problems with engaging with schoolwork, but I had a lot of sort of social problems at school. Got into a lot of fights and stuff like that. I was quite volatile as a teenager. And yeah, it was just all kind of missed and not really caught. It's really difficult. Like, the thing with parenting is you just always... there's never like a definitive right answer to any choice you make or anything you do for them, right? It's like, the best anyone can do is look at their own parents and go, okay, here's the bits of what they did that I'll keep, and here's the bits of what they did that weren't so good, and I won't do those. And that's really all you can do. And I think that's kind of the appeal to people of like authoritarianism, right? It's like, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a sociology study in the States, and they worked out that the attitudinal thing that made people vote for Trump or pick Trump, regardless of like demographics or whatever, because Trump's support is quite demographically broad, right? It's got like something like 10% of his supporters are black men and stuff like that. It's not what you would typically expect from like a right-wing candidate. But the thing that made people support Trump in the States was that they were authoritarians, right? And the way that the sociologists tested this in the study was they asked people, when you're raising children, is it more important for the child to be kind or to respect their elders? And they used that as a proxy for whether someone is an authoritarian, if they chose the respect their elders thing. And that was the thing that mapped mostly onto whether people supported Trump, right? And I think it's frustrating, because I think if you're a quote-unquote good parent, you don't necessarily go in for like hard and fast, this is how things should be done because it's how they've always been done. But then you can see how much easier the world is for people that don't operate that way. People that are just like, you know, have some sort of like Bible in their head, whether it's a literal Bible or just like a social rule book of like, well, this is how that thing's done because that's how it's always been done, you know? People who live that way just have an easier life in a lot of ways because they don't have to like think for themselves or be accountable for anything because they're doing the right thing by just doing the thing that they've been told that they should do. They don't have to really weigh anything up and decide whether something is right or wrong because their parents tell them what's right or wrong, or their preacher tells them what's right or wrong, or whatever. And like, I think that's the most frustrating thing about parenting and trying to parent conscientiously is you don't really have a rule book. You just have this sort of like living, breathing science experiment of like, oh, what's the best and worst things that my parents did, and how has the world changed in the last 30 years in a way that means that all of the data I have on my own upbringing is now completely irrelevant. What's up, chat? Today we're listening to jazz, driving a car badly, and talking about the banality of evil. Welcome to Indie Game Clinic, the philosophy channel that pretends to be about game dev. We are coming to the end of 2025, and we are ringing out the old year by playing a game which is the perfect metaphorical expression of what 2025 has been to many of us. Falling down a hill over and over again. A hill that you don't know why you're climbing. We must imagine Sisyphus a burb. See, if this was Tony Hawk, I would have got loads of points for that. Yeah. Adult diagnosis with neurodivergence is strange because it's like, it's one of those things where it's like helpful to have, but then it's like, what do you do with the information? So for me, like the ADHD diagnosis allows me to access medicine, which does genuinely help in my case. I've been off it for a while, but I'm going back on it soon. The autism diagnosis seems to like wax and wane in terms of how good it is at explaining anything in my life, you know? And I find when you first get diagnosed, it's sort of like it's your whole personality. Because suddenly it's like, oh, this explains everything. And then later on, you realize it doesn't explain everything. So you see debates online about, you know, this or that person and whether this thing is autism or whether it's narcissism or whether it's BPD. And it's like, you do realize people with autism also have personalities and can also have personality disorders. It's not like, it's not one or the other. You can like, you can do a dark triad test and score high for narcissism and also have autism and be both those things. That's the thing. But yeah, like, I find I don't have as much of the social side of autism, and I think the parts that I do, it's an overlap with my ADHD where I'm just fundamentally not paying enough attention. You know, like if I don't read the room and I don't understand how people are responding to something, it's usually because I was thinking about something else and being inattentive, rather than because I just like fundamentally don't understand the cues. But I do, the sort of sensory overwhelm side of autism I get very strongly, and if I spend like half an hour in a supermarket, I need to go and lock myself in a dark room or something. From the kind of sensory overwhelm. But you still have to, yeah, exactly. Elon Musk. Yeah, exactly. You can be autistic and still be a narcissist. You can be autistic and still have BPD. It's like, it comes down to like, okay, where do you go from there? Like, what does that help you with? So my mum has borderline, and she never received treatment for it. She got diagnosis in the 90s, and it was just like, oh yeah, I guess we'll put you on antidepressants. But she's never had talking therapy about it to like address the fact that she has these extremely emotional cognitive distortions, which is what it is basically. And that means that now that she's elderly and really kind of starting to lose her memory and stuff, it's really bad because she's never developed any coping mechanisms, and the kind of stuff she thinks is happening around her is just not. You can't really argue with it. So she'll be like, oh, that nurse is horrible to me. And it's like, were they horrible, or did they just not smile enough for you? And you've now decided that they're Satan. Yeah, it's kind of like, what treatment do you get access to by having the label, and are you going to take it? You know, I had a partner a few years ago that had ADHD and never got properly diagnosed, and would just kind of go on about it all the time. But it was like, okay, your life's a bit of a mess, your house is a bit of a mess. You keep talking about how you've got this problem, but you're not turning that into any sort of action to get help with it, and that means you're just offloading it on everyone around you. And it's kind of like, you know, everyone deserves a bit of grace around those things and a little bit of understanding, but at some point, if the thing is causing a problem, then you need to take some responsibility for it as an adult, and otherwise, what's the point in kind of identifying as having the thing if you're going to just be like, hey, this is me, everyone needs to deal with it? It's like, it's a problem or it's not, you know? And if it's not a problem, then don't identify with it. And if it is a problem, then identify with it as much as it gets you help. But don't, like, over-identify with the thing and then refuse to get any help around it. Because that sucks. That's not a good behaviour, I don't think. I think one of the saddest things about neurodivergence is when you first realise you're neurodivergent, there'll be all of these support groups and stuff. I'm flipping the wrong way. I'm flipping like... There'll be all of these support groups and stuff. Like, there are quite a few near me that are like meetups and stuff. But I've been to them and I don't really have anything in common. So if there's a meetup for musicians or a meetup for game developers, I'll have more in common with those people because it's just, well, the way my autism and ADHD express themselves is through being obsessed with making things, right? And those groups for like musicians and game developers will have a lot of neurodivergent people in anyway, because I do tend to think that that's often how people get good at one of these things in the first place, is by being sort of obsessive about it and maybe using it as a stim. You know, like people who sit there and practice guitar for 45 minutes a day, that's not a normal behaviour. That needs to come from somewhere, and I don't think it always comes from drive. I think sometimes it's a self-soothing behaviour to practice something in the first place. So you get like all of these support groups that you can go to that are specifically for neurodivergent people, and it's like, well, you know, I'm here because I'm obsessed with like making and talking about games, and there's other persons here because they're obsessed with trains, and we don't fundamentally have anything in common. And then you realise that some of your neurodivergent quirks make you incompatible with other neurodivergent people. So I'm very much like, I need other people to know how to use a calendar, you know? Like, if I'm in a situation where, you know, like I'm in a band at the moment, and if other people forget that there's a thing on, because they didn't note it down in the calendar that there was a practice or a gig or something, I find that very upsetting, because I think it's because for me it's a lot of work to be that organised in the first place. So if I put in an amount of work to be organised, then I sort of expect other people to do the same, because it's difficult to be organised. I don't think I can't reset from here. It's a great game, but I just fundamentally think I don't... I'm finding it very chilled out, which I don't think is the intended experience. You'd need to see someone watch it, someone play it who is gonna react to it a bit more, because I just find it quite chilled out. Yeah. So the last call I had with my psychiatrist, the guy that like administers the ADHD meds, one of the things he said that was really useful is that the bit of your diagnosis that is a disorder will wax and wane, right, depending on the situation. And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's like, it's the same theory of like, if you're physically disabled, right, you're disabled by the environment around you, right? So if you can't open doors, that's a problem of the fact that doors are designed for a certain type of body. It's not a problem of you. And it's kind of the same thing with it. So basically what he was trying to justify was giving me 2 doses of a smaller med instead of 1 big pill, because then he was saying then you have control and you can decide whether you take 2 in a day or 1 in a day, kind of thing. And that was very helpful. But yeah, he was just sort of noting that it's still very hard to get like general health practitioners to accept that kind of stuff. It's just like, no, you're on a medicine, you need to take it with this degree of regularity because that's how we prescribe medicines, you know. I wouldn't say this isn't my kind of jam. I just, in If I wasn't playing it on a stream, I would have quit by now, because my response to games that are frustratingly hard is just to not play them. It's a very good game to just sort of like zone out and only pay half attention to. So. Yeah. Well done to anyone who overcomes anything like alcoholism. It's very, very difficult. I did a year sober when I first went on meds, because you just can't do them at the same time. It's uppers and downers. And I will probably have to do the same again soon when I go back on them. Yeah, it's very difficult, especially when you've got a culture that doesn't, like, I don't know, if you go to, like, Arabic countries where people don't drink, you have places you can go in the evening to hang out and drink coffee, right? And I guess France has this, but a lot of places just don't have nighttime eateries or places that aren't really expensive, right? So, like, in the UK, you can go out in the evening, and you can either go to somewhere to drink, or somewhere to dance and see music, which is also a place to drink, or you can go to like an expensive restaurant to eat food. We don't have the equivalent of like an all-night diner. I guess we have like kebab shops and stuff, but they usually don't let you sit down and socialise in them. They're not set up for that. So there's not a sort of culture of nighttime leisure which isn't based around alcohol. And if you're the person who is there who doesn't want to drink alcohol, it's like, okay, they've got better at having non-alcoholic options, but if you ask for like a hot drink in a pub, so they've got the coffee machine there, but a lot of the time they will act pissed off at you because they don't want to make a coffee and it's busy and stuff, and it's like, well, okay, but like, maybe I don't want to drink a pint of Coca-Cola. maybe I don't want to drink a pint of 0.5 beer that tastes like hospital disinfectant. I do wish we had more places where you could go and do stuff with adults in the evening that weren't like alcohol based, and if you're there and you're not drinking alcohol, you have to like pretend that you're drinking alcohol. I would definitely rather have one nice beer than, like, 3 bad beers. Ugh. Right, I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, because I'm not making any progress in this. But I think if this looks amusing to you and, like, it's the sort of thing that you would have fun, you should go and check it out. I wonder if anyone has, it'd be interesting to know if the dev has analytics on this. I wonder if anyone has ever just sat down to play this and just made it up in one go without falling down at all. So, sorry, no, you're too good at driving. Yeah, the board game shop sounds good. We have nice ones of those in the cities over here, but the local one is kind of okay, but it's just a bit, I don't know, a little bit small. I spoke to them before about doing D&D there, and they always want to fit 2 parties into the same little basement, and it's like, you do realise that role-playing is quite a sensitive thing that people feel embarrassed about doing. You can't just plonk 2 roleplay groups right next to each other and expect them to not interfere with each other, or, you know, one is too loud or whatever. I would love a decent-sized board game cafe where I am, but we've got a piddly one. It's a lovely shop. They always have good stuff in, but doesn't ever feel like a very inspiring place to want to take someone in the evening, you know? Whereas if you go somewhere like Brighton or London, then the board game cafes there are like lovely big places, and you don't feel like you can overhear someone playing a game next to you or whatever, you know? The problem with board games and role-playing games, if you're playing them in the same room as other people, you can overhear them and be like, oh, they're having more fun than me. the orgy problem, but for board games. Oh, those people over there look like they're having more fun. That's not fair. That's an interesting insight, Potato. I'm glad people had a good stream. I mean, so one of the things, I'll talk about this a little bit first before we wrap up. So one of the things I want to do in the new year, we'll still do the core of what the channel is about. So every week there will still be a stream reviewing people's work in progress games. We'll still have the community stream every 2 weeks. I'll do dev streams every so often. I do want to do more streams where we're just gaming and chatting, because I think that's obviously beneficial for folks like you, who are here now. And like I said earlier, the audience for streams is very different from the audience for videos. Like, the people who want to watch a video, unless you're consistently doing the same thing over and over again, like someone like Any Austin, who does series of a specific thing, the audience for videos is just randos who've shown up to have one question answered a lot of the time. That's like a big majority of the audience for videos. Not very rewarding folks to interact with, whereas the streams are like... the streams feel a lot more like having a day job, because I show up and it's the same people here, so it feels a little bit more psychologically healthy. And you're just all fundamentally more sociable people, and that's why you're sitting in a stream rather than going and finding game developer videos so that you can post pithy responses to them in their comments and show how clever you are, you know? But yeah, one of the things I want to do a little bit more in the new year is just try and make sure that there's a stream every week that is just checking out a published game, rather than just chatting about the game and life and stuff, rather than having to always be very much on the critical side. Because I have such a big backlog of games I want to play that I'm not going to play. There's also a possibility that I can get small sponsorships to play specific games from indie publishers that are like games that I want to play anyway. I mean, this is stuff that's been on my list for ages. I haven't played Obra Dinn yet. So I kind of constantly add to this little list of games I've been meaning to play. And it's often if someone keeps recommending something, like... Yeah, you can post as many pithy comments as you want if you're being pro-social in a chat. That's fine. It's just the folks that are like... It was very funny, actually, to see Tim Kaine posting about this last week, because it just goes to show that it doesn't... Like, I have a great deal of imposter syndrome because I've worked in, like, 3 studios, none of which have really been indie games, and people are often like, what gives you the right to talk about any of this stuff? And it's like, well, I'm still a game designer. I still have more professional experience of game design than the vast majority of people who are either making games as hobbyists or making content about it. But it just goes to show, even if you're Tim Kaine, you'll still get people that are only there to sort of to bicker and argue and stuff. Oh yeah, gnomes. Let's put I've been meaning to put gnomes on the list. I'll add it now. I've been wanting to play that. That looks like hella charming. I just love tower defense games. So yeah, tomorrow we're doing 6 tower defense games. And what I will tend to do is like what I've done with this, and I think I did it earlier in the year with Negative Space as well. If there's a game that gets submitted and I just think, oh, that I'd like to play that for longer, then I'll just make another stream to play the game for longer. Yeah, tomorrow morning, same time, or whatever time it is where you are, we're doing the last Indies Under the Knife of the year, which will be a tower defense marathon. If you want to play a tower defense before then, I've put all the links up already. So if you've got time later today and you want to check out some sort of tower defense game, you can hop into the preview of tomorrow's stream, and they are there in the description. Yeah, this this is my recommends. Christmas Dungeon Synth and Tim Kaine. That's all I watch on YouTube at the moment. Right, I'm logging off, folks. I hope you have a good rest of the day. And if I don't see you before the end of the year, then Happy New Year.